So it's because of all these facts and because the Black Computer says so, I got to give the title of
the greatest cop movie of all time.
Brothers and sisters! Brothers and sisters! I don't know what this world is coming to.
You're listening to the Black and Blue Podcast, a discussion and celebration of the roles of African Americans and other minorities in U.S. law enforcement. Your host on the Black and Blue Podcast is Dale Peters, a law enforcement professional with over 20 years experience in the business. Hop on board this Black and Blue train of interviews, current events, and pop culture conversations. So get ready. The Black and Blue Podcast is coming at you right now. Welcome back to the interrogation room, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Dale, and I'm the host of the Black and Blue Podcast. I want to thank each and every last one of you for joining me here today because I got something really special for you. This show's more than just interviews with cops. It's also about things that interest and brings us all together. Sports, music, movies, current events. You know, they're all topics we'll touch on this show. And today's episode is one of those times. If you don't know much about college basketball, Selection Sunday is when a committee of 10 college athletic directors and conference administrators select who they think are the 68 best and most deserving teams to participate in the NCAA Tournament, or what is more commonly known as March Madness. The committee uses a number of criteria to determine who should be in the tournament, like a team's win-loss record, who they beat, when and where they beat them, who the teams that they beat. And when it's all said and done, the teams are split into 4 regions of 16 teams each. This format is what's called the bracket. The teams play in a win one game or go home style tournament to advance through each round of the bracket. The NCAA is even given later rounds of the tournament catchy nicknames. When there's only 16 teams left, they call that round the Sweet 16. And when there's only 8 left, they call that the Elite 8. And when there's only 4 left, they call that the Final 4. The last 2 play in the championship game for the title of the best college basketball team of the year. Every year, millions of people fill out their own brackets to try to predict the winner of the tournament. Even former President Obama famously filled out his own Final 4 brackets every year. So it's in that spirit that I come to you with my own form of March Madness. But this tournament's not trying to find the best college basketball team. Nah, this tournament is to end all discussions from here on out about the GCMOAT.
What the hell is even that?
Well, simply put, the GCMOAT or GCMOAT is
the greatest cop movie of all time.
Yes, indeed. This bracket will pit 68 cop movies against one another in a Will to Survive style tournament. And the last one standing will be named
the greatest cop movie of all time.
Now, before we begin, let me explain how the committee, me, decided how to rank these movies for the bracket. Well, you know how Batman's got his Bat computer? Well, I got the Black computer. It's in that back room behind the TV screen. I sent surveys to several people and asked them to rank these 68 movies. Also got the IMDb scores and Rotten Tomato scores of all these movies and threw all that data into the Black computer. And this bracket is what it spit out. All right, ladies and gentlemen, there you have it. That's what the Black computer spit out. The greatest cop movie of all time tournament bracket. Now, if you look underneath the title there, we got the first 4. What that is that's 8 of the worst performing movies based on the surveys I sent out, their IMDb scores, and their Rotten Tomato scores. Those movies got to fight it out for the right to even get on the tournament bracket as number 16 seeds. In the PD region in the upper left-hand corner there, number 1 spot over there is The Departed. Taking the number 2 spot over there is French Connection, and the number 3 spot in the PD region is In the Heat of the Night. Right below that in the Trooper region, taking the number 1 spot is Training Day. The number 2 spot goes to Die Hard, and the number 3 spot goes to Dirty Harry. Moving over to the upper right-hand corner of our bracket, we got the SO region. Serpico taking the number 1 spot. Number 2 will be held by Colors. Number 3 is Beverly Hills Cop. And rounding out our regions, we got the Fed region on the bottom right-hand corner of our bracket. Taking the number 1 spot over there is Silence of the Lambs. Number 2 is Seven. And number 3, you're not going to believe this, but it is number 3, White Chicks. But 68 movies is a lot of movies to get through. And ain't nobody got time for that. Ain't nobody got time for that. So how about I just fast forward all the way through to the Sweet 16, and I'll check you out in a minute. Man, I'm tired from running around so much, but I made it back. You made it back, and welcome back to the greatest cop movie of all time tournament. We skipped all the way to the Sweet 16 round, so let's see what we got. Over in the PD region, it looks like the number 1 seed, The Departed, advanced. It'll make its way down to the OK Corral to square off against number 5 seed, Tombstone. Below that, the 60s classic and number 3 seed, In the Heat of the Night, will be meeting up with that hood classic, number 7 seed, New Jack City. Down in the Trooper region, 2 LA movies square off, as number 1 seed, Training Day, mans up against number 5 seed, LA Confidential. And below that, number 3 seed, Dirty Harry, tries to make number 2 seed, Die Hard's day. Moving over to the SO region, we got number 1 seed, Serpico, battling number 5 seed, The Untouchables. Then, we go from Rodeo Drive and number 3 seed, Beverly Hills Cop, over to Compton Avenue and number 2 seed, Colors. Down in the Fed region, we'll see number 1 seed, Silence of the Lambs, try to take a bite out of number 4 seed, Lethal Weapon. And rounding out our bracket, Steve McQueen and his number 6 seed, Bullet, ask what's in the box of number 2 seed, Seven. Now, let's get this Sweet 16 party started. Alright, so for our first matchup here in the Sweet 16, we got The Departed versus Tombstone. Check it out. In The Departed, South Boston cop Billy Costigan, played by Leonardo DiCaprio, goes undercover to infiltrate the organization of gangland chief Frank Costello, played by Jack Nicholson. As Billy gains the mobster's trust, a career criminal named Colin Sullivan, played by Matt Damon, infiltrates the police department and reports on his activities to his syndicate bosses. When both organizations learn they have a mole in their midst, Billy and Colin must figure out each other's identities to save their own lives. Tombstone, Wyatt Earp, played by Kurt Russell, and his brothers, Morgan, played by Bill Paxton, and Virgil, played by Sam Elliott, have left their gunslinger ways behind them to settle down and start a business in the town of Tombstone, Arizona. While they aren't looking for trouble, trouble soon finds them as they become targets of a ruthless cowboy gang. Now, together with Wyatt's best friend Doc Holliday, played by Val Kilmer, the brothers pick up their guns once more to restore order to a lawless land. Alright, in this matchup of 2 great movies of The Departed and Tombstone, there can only be one winner, and that winner today is The Departed. Alright, also in the PD region, we got In the Heat of the Night versus New Jack City. In the Heat of the Night, African-American Philadelphia police detective Virgil Tibbs, played by Sidney Poitier, is arrested on suspicion of murder by Bill Gillespie, played by Rod Steiger. He's the racist police chief of tiny Sparta, Mississippi. As Tibbs proves not only his innocence, but that of another man, he joins forces with Gillespie to track down the real killer. Their investigation takes them through every social level of the town, with Tibbs making enemies as well as unlikely friends as he hunts for the truth. New Jack City. Drug tycoon Nino Brown, played by Wesley Snipes, and his minions, known collectively as the Cash Money Brothers, have rapidly risen to the top of the New York City narcotics trade. Under Nino's heartless leadership, the drug operation has grown into a multi-million-dollar empire. Scotty, played by Ice-T, and Nick, played by Judd Nelson, are two police officers who know their way around the streets of Harlem, and they aim to bring Nino and his cohorts down. To do so, they'll have to play by Nino's rules and go undercover. All right, again, this is a tough matchup. These are two great movies. I mean, In the Haiti Tonight's got the legendary Sidney Poitier, and of course, New Jack City's got my man Wesley Snipes. Again, there can only be one winner, and in this round, it's got to be New Jack City. All right, moving right along to the Trooper region, we got Training Day versus LA Confidential. Training Day. So Jack Hoyt, played by Ethan Hawke, is tired of his quiet beat in a calm and serene suburb of Los Angeles. With the need for a challenge, he gets himself reassigned to an LAPD narcotics unit that works some of LA's grittiest areas. The catch is he has only one day to prove himself worthy of this world of undercover police work. His trainer is Detective Alonzo Harris, played by Denzel Washington. Harris is a 13-year narcotics veteran who has long since blurred the lines between legality and corruption. With Harris as his guide, Hoyt will be pulled in ever deeper into the ethical mire of Harris's logic as the two risk life and career to serve their conflicting notions of justice. LA Confidential. So 3 police officers, each with their own motives and obsessions, tackle the corruption surrounding an unsolved murder at a downtown Los Angeles coffee shop in the early 1950s. Detective Lieutenant Exley, played by Guy Pearce, the son of a murder detective, is out to avenge his father's killing. The ex-partner of Officer White, played by Russell Crowe, implicated in a scandal rooted out by Exley, was one of the victims. Also, Kevin Spacey plays Sergeant Vicentes, who feeds classified information to a tabloid magnate. That's played by Danny DeVito. All right, another great matchup here in this Sweet 16, but I like one movie a whole lot more than the other one. You know which one that is. That's Training Day. Moving right along in this Sweet 16, we got Clint Eastwood playing Dirty Harry against Bruce Willis in Die Hard. Dirty Harry. Cop Harry Callahan, played by Clint Eastwood, attempts to track down a psychotic rooftop killer before a kidnapped girl dies. When he is found, Harry abuses the murderer's civil rights, putting him back on the streets. Once he is released, he hijacks a school bus, and Harry must go after him again. The only way to stop this vicious killer is in cold blood. Die Hard. New York City police officer John McClane, played by Bruce Willis, is visiting his estranged wife and 2 daughters on Christmas Eve. He joins her at a holiday party in the headquarters of the Japanese-owned business she works for. But the festivities are interrupted by a group of terrorists who take over the exclusive high-rise and everyone in it. Very soon, McClane realizes that there's no one to save the hostages but him. All right, I like both of these movies as well in the Sweet 16, Dirty Harry versus Die Hard. They both got a lot of great lines like Dirty Harry's Go Ahead and Make My Day. But John McClane also had Yippee-Ki-Yay in Die Hard, so I think that one takes the cake, and the winner here is Die Hard. All right, we moved over to the SO region of this Sweet 16. Now we got Serpico going up against the Untouchables. Serpico. Frank Serpico, played by Al Pacino, is an idealistic New York City cop who refuses to take bribes, unlike the rest of the force. His actions get Frank shunned by the other officers and often placed in dangerous situations by his partners. When his superiors ignore Frank's accusations of corruption, he decides to go public with the allegations. Although this causes the Knapp Commission to investigate his claims, Frank has also placed a target on himself. This film is based on a true story. The Untouchables. After building an empire with bootleg alcohol, legendary crime boss Al Capone, played by Robert De Niro, rules Chicago with an iron fist. Though Prohibition agent Elliot Ness, played by Kevin Costner, attempts to take Capone down, even his best efforts fail due to widespread corruption. recruiting an elite group of lawmen who won't be swayed by bribes or fear, including Irish-American cop Jimmy Malone, played by Sean Connery. Ness renews his determination to bring Al Capone to justice. Robert De Niro, Al Pacino matchup, that's always good, but in this one, De Niro wins out because The Untouchables is the winner here. Alright, so let's keep it rolling here in the SO region with Beverly Hills Cop versus Colors. Beverly Hills Cop. After his childhood buddy is murdered while visiting Detroit, rebellious cop Axel Foley, played by Eddie Murphy, follows his leads to Beverly Hills, California, under the auspices of a vacation. He checks in with old friend Jenny Summers and starts to believe her boss, art dealer Victor Maitland, might somehow be involved with the murder. However, Lieutenant Bogomil of the Beverly Hills Police Department doesn't trust Foley and hinders his search for evidence. Colors. In this gritty police drama from director Dennis Hopper, streetwise cop Bob Hodges, played by Robert Duvall, and hot-headed rookie Danny McGavin, played by Sean Penn, grapple with their new partnership on the gang-ridden streets of Los Angeles. Although Danny finally lets Hodges show him the ropes, his adrenaline-fed brutality earns him a reputation with the very gangs they want to help. With the gang war ready to explode, Danny confronts his own racism, even as he falls in love with a local Latina by the name of Luisa, played by Maria Conchita Alonso. Alright, so we got one funny movie, we got one serious movie. One is a classic. I think they're both classics, but one is a classic by cop standards. So that one wins today. That one's got to be Colors. All right, we're moving on down to the Fed region. In this first matchup, we got Silence of the Lambs versus Lethal Weapon. Silence of the Lambs. Jodie Foster plays Clarice Starling, a top student at the FBI's training academy. Jack Crawford wants Clarice to interview Dr. Hannibal Lecter, played by Anthony Hopkins, a brilliant psychiatrist who's also a violent psychopath, serving life behind bars for various acts of murder and cannibalism. Crawford believes that Lecter may have insight into a case and that Starling, as an attractive young woman, may be just the bait to draw him out. Lethal Weapon. Following the death of his wife, LAPD detective Martin Riggs, played by Mel Gibson, becomes reckless and suicidal. When he's reassigned and partnered with Roger Murtaugh, played by Danny Glover, Riggs immediately clashes with the older officer. Together, they uncover a massive drug trafficking ring. As they encounter increasingly dangerous situations, Riggs and Murtaugh begin to form a bond. Riggs' volatile behavior might just help them apprehend the criminals, if it doesn't kill them first. Alright, as you can see, as this tournament moves along, each matchup gets tougher and tougher because I like both of these movies, but you know, one of them won the Academy Award and the other one didn't, so the winner here is Silence of the Lambs. Alright, so for our final matchup here in the Fed region, we got Bullet facing off with Seven. Bullet. Senator Walter Chalmers is aiming to take down mob boss Pete Ross with the help of testimony from the criminal's hot-headed brother Johnny, who's in police protective custody in San Francisco under the watch of Police Lieutenant Frank Bullitt, played by Steve McQueen. When a pair of mob hitmen enter the scene, Bullitt follows their trail through a maze of complications and double crosses. This thriller includes one of the most famous car chases ever filmed, Seven. When retiring police detective William Somerset, played by Morgan Freeman, tackles a final case with the aid of newly transferred David Mills, played by Brad Pitt, they discover a number of elaborate, grisly murders. They soon realize they're dealing with a serial killer, played by Kevin Spacey, who's targeting people he thinks represent one of the 7 deadly sins. Somerset also befriends Mills' wife Tracy, played by Gwyneth Paltrow, who's pregnant and afraid to raise her child in a crime-riddled city. Alright, for our final matchup here in the Fed region of Bullet and Seven, the winner today is Seven. All right, so let's recap our winners here in the Sweet 16. In the PD region, The Departed and New Jack City move on. Down in the Trooper region, Training Day and Die Hard move on. Over in the SO region, The Untouchables and Colors move on. And down in the Fed region, we got Silence of the Lambs and Seven. Each of these teams move on to the Elite Eight, so let's do that. All right, here we are in the PD region of the Elite Eight. In this round, we got, in this matchup, we got The Departed going up against New Jack City. They're both good movies. I like these movies. You know I love me some New Jack City, but The Departed is just a better overall movie. So the winner here is The Departed. All right, we're here in the Elite Eight portion of the bracket. We're over here in the SO region where The Untouchables is taking on Colors. Now, both of these movies are great movies, but I remember actually seeing one of them at the theater and the other one I didn't. I remember bumping one soundtrack and the other one I didn't. So the tiebreaker on that has to go to this one. Colors. I know you remember that. All right, we're down here now in the Trooper region of this bracket, and this pits Training Day up against Die Hard. Again, two great movies, two great actors, but I give the edge to one of them, and that one is Training Day. Rounding out the Elite Eight, we're down in the Fed region, and we've got Silence of the Lambs going up against Seven. Both of these are great movies. Both of them are Grizzly movies, but one of them had an iconic character. The other one just had a great line at the end. What's in the box? I know you remember that line, but the iconic character is from the other movie, so the winner in this round goes to Silence of the Lambs. All right, to recap our winners here in the Elite Eight, we've got The Departed, Training Day, Colors, and Silence of the Lambs all moving on to the Final Four. All right, we are now in the Final Four, and we got two great movies on this side of the bracket going up against each other. We got The Departed going up against Training Day. Now, these are two great movies, two great casts. I think they both won Oscars. The Departed's got Leonardo DiCaprio, Jack Nicholson, Matt Damon in it, but my man Lonzo, Denzel playing Lonzo in Training Day. I mean, that was just off the chain. So the winner in this one has to go to Training Day. On this side of the bracket for the Final Four, we got Colors going up against Silence of the Lambs. Man, I love both of these movies. I love the cast in both. Sean Penn and Robert Duvall in Colors. We got Jodie Foster and Sir Anthony Hopkins in Silence of the Lambs. Both of them were riveting performances. Both of them made you think, but there's only got to be one winner. So in this instance, it's got to be Silence of the Lambs. Well, here we are, ladies and gentlemen, the championship round. Now, we've seen a lot of great matchups along the way, but now we're just down to two iconic movies, Training Day and Silence of the Lambs. Now, let me say, either one of these movies could win this championship, and I wouldn't have a problem. Denzel Washington and Sir Anthony Hopkins are two of my most favorite actors, but one of these movies felt a little more real to me. Maybe it's because I grew up and live out here on the West Coast that I got a little bit more love for the backdrop of Los Angeles rather than Maryland or wherever the Silence of the Lambs is supposed to be. I also used to work on a major narcotics team years ago, so I know a little bit about that world, even though I ain't never done any of the crazy stuff Alonzo Harris or Jake Hoyt did. Alonzo was a straight up G in this movie, while Hannibal Lecter was just straight up crazy. So it's because of all these facts, and because the Black Computer says so, I gotta give the title of
the greatest cop movie of all time
to Training Day.
King Kong ain't got on me!
Yes, Square Pegs. That's it for this episode of the Black and Blue Podcast. I hope you enjoyed
the greatest cop movie of all time.
It took a lot of hard work to get that out to you, but I enjoyed every last minute of it. If you enjoyed the episode, smash that like button and then subscribe to the YouTube channel. Also, subscribe to the show wherever you listen to your podcast, and you'll get notified whenever a new episode drops. Be sure to check me out at Black and Blue US on Instagram, Facebook, or Twitter for more exclusive content. If you want some more info about me or the show, check out the website at www.blackandblue.us. I'll be dropping another full episode of the Black and Blue Podcast in 2 weeks. So until then, you know what to do. Stay black and blue. I'll holler at you. Peace.
This has been a Maitre D Entertainment presentation.
Hey, wait a minute. I almost forgot. I'd be remiss if I didn't mention the movies that participated in this tournament. So here they are in order of worst scoring movie to the best scoring movie. We've got The 7-Ups, Blue Steel, Lakeview Terrace, Pride and Glory, Dark Blue, Mulholland Falls, Insomnia, 16 Blocks, The Rookie, Narc, Deep Cover, Above the Law, Starsky and Hutch, The Other Guys, Kindergarten Cop, Ride Along, SWAT, Running Scared, Miami Vice, Let's Be Cops, Dragnet, Street Kings, Kiss the Girls, Brooklyn's Finest, Copland, Internal Affairs, Inside Man, 21 Jump Street, Manhunter, Bad Lieutenant, The Negotiator, Super Troopers, The Presidio, 48 Hours, Face Off, Point Break, Fort Apache the Bronx, Donnie Brasco, American Gangster, Rush Hour, Witness, Police Academy, End of Watch, New Jack City, Chips, Naked Gun, Speed, Bullet, RoboCop, LA Confidential, Tombstone, The Untouchables, Heat, The Fugitive, Bad Boys, Lethal Weapon, White Chicks, In the Heat of the Night, Beverly Hills Cop, Dirty Harry, French Connection, 7, Colors, Die Hard, Serpico, The Departed, Silence of the Lambs, and of course our winner and
Greatest cop movie of all time.
Training Day.